Holy crap, guys, that was awesome! Alright, guys, gals, and everything in between. Another week, another strain. Love seeing all my strain peeps back here to talk and watch, as I like to babble about the strain. Well, last night, our latest episode of the strain was the battle for Red Hook. Now, this episode was all sorts of crazy intense. Like, if you were one of those people who wanted a bit more action in your life this season, this better have cut it for you, because this episode was like 2/3 action. I mean, we start it and they're all kind of talking to Zach about, you're kind of an idiot for opening the door, right? He was like, yeah. So maybe Zach's starting to be a little more normal now. And so then Satrakian is trying to also lecture him, and he's like, we need to prepare because Eichhorst is going to come here and he's going to try and take us down. We don't know how hardcore he's going to be, so we need to be ready for him and we need to kick his ass. And they're all like, well, why don't we go to Red Hook, and the lady from Atlas Shrugged, she might be able to help us. And they bicker about it, and Satrakian caves, and he's like, fine, we'll go. But what they don't realize is that there is something sinister going on in the background. Eichhorst is actually prepping for storming Red Hook. And for those of you who didn't realize it, because in the beginning of the episode there's not many vampires, and then at the end of the episode there's about 1,000,005 of them. For those of you who were confused on that, the vampires do actually need permission to cross the water. They need someone to get them across at least the first time, and then they can head back on their own and storm it like D-Day. But they have to actually have someone take them the first time. Like the whole vampire, you need to let them in kind of thing. So they get there and they're trying to convince them, and Satrakian weirds them all out by talking about the master has seen him through his eyes, and they're like, who the hell's the master? And who's this crazy old guy? And we all know, we're like, it's Satrakian, take him seriously, woman. I mean, this episode gets going quick. The lights shut down. Dutch isn't there because she's having a fight with her debatably criminal girlfriend, and then they do it when they're mad at each other. Cool. She's not there at the moment. So she's getting laid while they're fighting Strigoi. And the lights go out, and Satrakian's like, we have seen this before. It's beginning. It's like, Satrakian's right. You should have listened to him. And so this is where the episode reminds me of Aliens. And the lights are out, so why did they cut the power, man? They're animals. Then, so Satrakian and all of them get outside. The police are out there. I always forget her name, the woman from Atlas Shrugged. She's like, we're gonna take back Red Hook. She goes outside, and she's like, give me a gun. Oh! She's gonna throw down too. So all of a sudden they're teaching her how to shoot the gun, and they're like, okay, you pull here, you should load it like this, and then squeeze, and they're teaching her on the fly to shoot the gun, which was awesome. I loved seeing that. One of my favorite things about this episode, two things. They taught her how to shoot the gun, so she didn't just pick it up and know how to use it. So there are amateurs in this world. And also, one thing I love is that F doesn't normally shoot a gun, so when he had his rifle that he's not really used to firing, he fired the rifle, and he actually moved his shoulder and rubbed his shoulder a little bit, like he was not expecting that pain from the kick of the rifle, which anyone who actually has shot guns before knows that the kick of that rifle the first few times you use it is gonna hurt. I really liked seeing that because it showed that there were amateurs in this world and that they weren't used to it. And just the way the cinematography was, where you see the red flares on the black, and you see them all just standing there, and it looked like aliens. And all of a sudden they're like, why aren't they coming? And I was sitting there going, oh my god, what are they doing? And then they sent out the probe people, and you see them firing and stuff, and they're fighting each other back, and that was so cool. And they come to the realization they cannot win unless power is restored to Red Hook. Because with the power out, they can't use the lights to their advantage. They're leaving, and then Satrakian just goes all lone wolf and is like, Eichhorst is going to come back to our house, and when he sees us, I need to be there, and we need to take him down. And then F is like, no, let's restore the power first. So they compromise, he's like, I'll go there later, and Satrakian just walks. After the first wave, Satrakian's like, I'm gonna go fight Eichhorst. And I was like, oh, dude. So they're on their way to the power facility, and Kelly has now seen through one of the Strigoi eyes where Zack is. So she's on her way, and Eichhorst is just like, I can handle the Jew by myself. And you're just like, oh, it's gonna go down. So they're fighting through the facility, and then the Strigoi at Red Hook, they go up on this building, and they look through the binoculars, and they see hundreds of Strigoi just standing there waiting for the charge. And they're like, we're dead. We don't have enough men to fight this. And like, well, you know what? We need to just nut up or shut up and fight these people. And she was like, no, we're going to get the people. And they do their Independence Day type speech moment where she's driving around. She's like, people of Red Hook, this is our city. This will be our city. Fight for your homes. And you're just like, Dagny Taggart, I love you. She's rocking the Jeep doing this is our Independence Day. And I was like, yes, I will back that woman. And so people are coming out of their homes, New Yorkers. They got their bats, they got their like power tools, and they're ready to fight for their homes. And I loved seeing this because now we're seeing the war. And then our heroes are going back through the power plant. They're looking around. They're killing Strigoi, but Kelly can see through this Strigoi where Zack is. And so Eichhorst is like, go get him. I'm taking down Satrakian. So they're going through. And as they're working on getting the power restored in the power plant, we cut back to the battle. You see that Dutch has now left her home, and I love seeing that because that shows that she cares more about the world's interests than her own, and I love it when I see characters do selfless acts like that. So she goes out there to fight, and now we have the war for Red Hook going on, where there's hundreds of Strigoi charging. Now we get to see big scale battles for the strain right now, where you see police and military shooting, Strigoi running by, stinging people. It is amazingly epic and intense. And then we cut back and we see our heroes fighting through, and then F is like, I'm gonna go back up Satrakian. You guys got this. So now it's Fett, Nora, and Zack, and then Kelly, without fail, shows up. And they're fighting each other, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna break through the glass. Fett, being a badass in this episode, they got him more close to the books in this one, in the sense that Fett is the most brutal of the fighters. Like, Satrakian's pretty clean cut, we're doing our business, we're leaving. Freaking Fett is like tackling people in this one, like breaking Strigoi ankles and like smacking their heads in and like literally just like beating them in, and he was so hardcore in it. Like, Fett was Ramboing it up in this one. And then he pulls out his Magnum, like all Dirty Harry status, and he's like, all right, Nora, distract him over there, because she wants Zack. So Nora opens the door, Kelly turns, Fett just unloads his Magnum on her, and she goes and they fight, and they're having this sort of moment that they're like pursuing each other. Kelly tackles Fett. It's so awesome and intense. And then she picks up the Magnum. We have Strigoi with guns now? Holy crap! She's firing, and he's like, shit! And me and my girlfriend had the exact same reaction. We were like, shit! And they're firing, and then Fett is being, as I said, hardcore. He jumps up behind Kelly as she's distracted by Zack again, strangles her. The power's turning back on, which means that they're all going to be saved. And so his job is done. He doesn't care if his own life is in jeopardy. He's like, go! Run! And so he's strangling her, and some of the worms, it looked like, were getting on him, and you were like, no! No! And he's sitting there and he's like, ah! And he's like, back, foul demon, and he's strangling Kelly, and then she's starting to get away, and then, because the Marines came through, and they're like, Fett, Nora, you did it! And then he's like, kill her! Kill this bitch! I'm like, kill that bitch! And they start shooting, and she gets away. And that was crazy intense. And Dutch almost died from a Stegoi, but all of a sudden the lights turn on and Dagny Taggart's like, they did it! They actually did it! As you see all these vampires, and it looked all cool, as there's dozens of vampires just going like burning up to a crisp, and it was intense. And then we have our Satrakian fight. Eichhorst is pissed. And then he's like, come on, let's settle this once and for all. And they're fighting. F snipes at him, and he sucks at shooting, so he keeps missing. Then all of a sudden, as they're fighting their way up, F runs out of ammo, and Eichhorst is just taunting him. He's like, you see, that's the problem, you ran out of ammo. And then all of a sudden, Satrakian, being all awesome, just jumps out and is just like, bam, bam, bam! And he's shooting him, and then F reloads, and he's shooting Eichhorst. He's like, we got this guy. We got him. And then right at the last moment where he's like dying, Eichhorst realizes he's lost this battle. He jumps off the roof, and Satrakian's still just like, bam, bam! And they're looking at each other, and they're like, yeah, that's right. We won. This was not a we scraped by battle, and that's how we made it out. No, they won on this one. The first battle of this war, they won, and I love it. Alright, guys, gals, and everything in between, what did you think of this episode? Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next week.